On today's show, comedian James Mullinger takes the good day from the Bay Questionnaire.
The Bayside Golf Gals put on a Mrs. Roper romp for a good cause.
Plus, we learn more about the Scouts, Cubs, and Beavers program in St. Andrews.
From your hometown local station, this is Good Day from the Bay with Vicki, Hogarth, and Jonathan Brittain.
Good day from the Bay. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Jonathan Brittain.
Jonathan, we often start off the show by saying that we're going to celebrate all things Southwest New Brunswick. Well, today we're going to be joined by someone who has made a career out of celebrating our region.
And by celebrating, I think you mean pointing out how hilarious and eccentric we New Brunswickers all are, in a loving and somewhat envious way.
Obviously, our guest on today's show was one of the UK's hardest working comedians and the comedy editor for GQ magazine before making a life-changing move to New Brunswick in 2014.
Since then, comedian James Mullinger has sold out shows from coast to coast, made appearances on the CBC's The Debaters, and is now the star and co-creator of New Brunswick's first ever national sitcom, Brit Out of Water, where, surprise, surprise, he plays a British comedian who accidentally moves to New Brunswick. Talk about art imitating life.
James published a memoir in 2023 called Brit Happens, Living the Canadian Dream, which hit the top of the Amazon comedy book charts, earned rave reviews, and even took home the Best Nonfiction Book Award at the New Brunswick Book Awards. This man truly does it all. We are thrilled that the Rothesay-based comedian considers St. Andrews his home away from home and often plays shows at the Algonquin and Kira Amphitheatre.
Vicki and I saw James' fall 2024 edition of St. Andrews Comedy Fest at Kira Amphitheatre, where he kicked off his set by poking a little fun at the locals, as he's known to do.
The Clam Digger has finally expanded its parking lot. I know! How did it take so long? Have you driven past the Clam Digger at rush hour? It's a dastardly experience. You are seeing people so excited to get their hands on deep fried seafood that they are literally just getting out of their cars and going, this car's coming from either way. Get it, I'll give it a...
I love how he picks up on the important issues like parking at the Clam Digger.
Well, get ready for more laughs when James joins us later in the show to take the Good Day from the Bay Questionnaire. But first, in the spirit of comedy, a group of friends from St. Andrews recently took over downtown Water Street, impersonating an iconic 70s character for a good cause. Let's take a look.
The Bayside Golf Gals brought both flair and purpose to St. Andrews by the Sea this fall, hosting their own version of a Mrs. Roper romp. Donning colorful muumuus, red wigs, and statement jewelry, the group of women channeled the iconic Mrs. Roper from the 1970s sitcom Three's Company. Their vibrant display of retro fashion wasn't just for show. This romp was also a fundraiser for the local food bank, the Open Door program.
The first Mrs. Roper romp took place in 2013 in New Orleans as part of the LGBTQ+ celebration Southern Decadence. Since then, the romps have exploded in popularity around the world. The idea is simple. Gather a group of people and celebrate the carefree, colorful, and unconventional style of Helen Roper while often raising money for charities.
In St. Andrews, the Bayside Golf Gals embraced this tradition wholeheartedly. Their playful romp not only brought laughter and joy to the town, but also provided a significant financial contribution to the local food bank, ensuring that their community will receive extra support during the upcoming holiday season. Mrs. Roper was way ahead of her time.
I rarely feel underdressed, but those ladies definitely made me feel so beige and boring in comparison.
Okay, well, in the spirit of comedy, we asked you, our audience, who is your favorite comedian?
We asked you on Facebook, but we also took to the streets to find out what you had to say. Let's take a look.
Oh, it has to be Theo Vaughn. He just is very relatable, you know. Came from nothing, rose to the top, really funny.
My favorite comedian is Gabriel Iglesias, just because I love his impressions. I think he's so funny.
James Mullinger. He's the funniest in the country, if not the world.
That's James Mullinger.
My favorite comedian of all time is Robin Williams. Nanu. You couldn't get anyone more natural and funny in your life.
Of all the comedians you told us about, James Mullinger was definitely the crowd favorite.
And that is very good news, because when we come back, he'll be here in studio with us to take the Good Day from the Bay Questionnaire. See you after the break. Welcome back to Good Day from the Bay. Our next guest is a beloved comedian, author, magazine publisher, podcaster, and TV star, and also a new Canadian. Please welcome James Mullinger. Thank you so much, James, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here in my favourite place with my favourite people.
Excellent.
You recently launched a podcast. Tell people a little bit about how it's going. When do you come up with the material, and when do you record it?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a weekly podcast called Mullinger's Weekly Ramble, and it really is literally what it says on the tin. It is me rambling. I did another podcast for a long time called Mullinger Meets Canadians, where I would interview different people like Rick Mercer or Ron James, and it's obviously very difficult scheduling, and so I thought, how great to be able to do a podcast where I can record it anywhere I am in the world. If I'm in a hotel room, if I'm sitting in a parked car before, in a dressing room before a show, and it's just me sharing my thoughts for the week. And it's a really, really wonderful way. I find it very cathartic. It's cheaper than therapy, and it's a really, really wonderful way of also workshopping material where I'll sit and work. I write jokes all the time, and obviously testing them on stage all the time. But it's nice just to sit wherever I am, ramble on like I am now. It's what I do. I'm a rambler.
How does it compare therapeutically to when you wrote your memoir, Brit Happens? Is it the same kind of vibe in terms of therapy, self-therapy?
That's a very good point. I really think it is. I mean, they say that the a kind of a thought or a concern shared is a concern halved, and I really do find that, and it's so funny how oddly therapeutic and also how heartwarming it can feel to be sat alone. Just round, I mean, you guys know. I mean, you go to this. You talk to cameras, but while you're doing this, you're talking to this wonderful community of tens of thousands of people. And similarly, even though I'm alone and solitary on the road, I suddenly feel not alone because I'm picturing all of those lovely people that are kind enough. I say all of those, the handful of lovely people who are kind enough to listen to it. I take it as a huge privilege that I get to be in their ears, and so for all of those reasons, so it's similar to writing a memoir in that it's solitary but also feels like a community.
And you source so much online too. You're one of the most fun people to follow online.
Well, likewise, coming from you, that means a lot. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I have to say, because I moved back to New Brunswick about 2.5 years ago from Toronto, and one of the first things that hit me was like, who's this James Mullinger guy? Because he's like everywhere. You've started up this new comedy festival that we had the honor of seeing you last night here in St. Andrews. How's that going, and where did that all come from?
Well, a joy, and I can't take any of the credit. I mean, it is, as ever, as all great things, it was the brainchild of Brad Henderson, Mrs. Lucinda Flamer, and of course, wonderful Daniel at the Kingsbury International Residence for the Arts. And I've done lots of shows with them over the years. Started off doing smaller shows in the tent by the beautiful Garden Cafe. And obviously when the amphitheatre was being built, I remember amazing Jeff Slater telling me that they were building this residence for the arts. And it was funny, we were sat in the corner of the tent at the Kingsbury, possibly in 2017. And I kind of got onto one of my bugbears in life, which is the way that stand-up comedy is often not recognised as an art form. And this is a complaint possibly that comedians have everywhere, but specifically in Canada, where I don't know if people are aware of this, but it's one of the only art forms that is not considered art by the federal government. Clowning is, storytelling is, spoken word is, but stand-up comedy is not on the list of artistic, which I find very upsetting because, I mean, to my mind, why is storytelling and spoken word, but not, basically, it's only art if nobody's laughing. So that's the government theory seems to be, if someone's having fun, it's not art. No, and to my mind, I mean, obviously the reason, I mean, obviously it's the thing that I do, but even before I was a comedian, I've always just loved and admired the craft of of being able, a solitary person standing on stage, holding an audience's attention for an hour or 2 hours, making them laugh, feel inspired. But I was sharing this kind of frustration with Jeff, and he said, well, I can assure you that Mrs. Flamer considers stand-up comedy to be an art form, and this residence for the arts will. And again, as with everything they do, when they say something, they do it, and when they say something, they mean it. And the proof's in the pudding, whereby this incredible amphitheatre has become a forum and a showcase for some of the most amazing orchestras in the world, some of the most amazing Broadway performers in the world, the most amazing musicians, but similarly comedians. And as a result, Brad Henderson conceived the St Andrews Comedy Festival. Of course, last year was the first one with Steve Patterson and Patrick Ledwell and Kay Trevor Wilson and Elvira Kirk and so many amazing comedians. And then this year was back with the amazing Jeff Irwin, Jimmy Flynn, Ron James, and some limey chancer that was allowed to have a go too. So it's been a really, really joyful thing to be a part of, seeing it build within the community, seeing the community come out in force for it, but also seeing people travel from not only all across Atlantic Canada, but we had people in last night from Ontario, Quebec. In the past, we've had people from England come, and we had lots of people come from Maine. So to my mind, again, it's that thing that Brad and Lucinda and Daniel have always done, which is thinking outside of the box and saying, yes, we might be a town with a population of under 2,000 people, but we can have the biggest and best comedy festival in the region. And there are other comedy festivals in other provinces within Atlantic Canada, but I have to say that without question, the St Andrews Comedy Festival is the best.
And I think you've definitely earned a reputation, one of the few people that can be an honorary townie, and that is a hard thing to accomplish. What is it about St Andrews that you love so much that keeps drawing you back here? Not just for shows, but you're here a lot just for pleasure as well.
Yes, totally. Yeah, we come here all the time. I mean, it's definitely one of my happiest places to come. I think when USA Today described St Andrews as the best town in Canada, I think without question that is the case. And I think the proof is, it's the first place that we bring visitors from England. I mean, when I saw you both last in June, we were obviously all here for that. And it's amazing how many initiatives and how many amazing things can all happen at the same time. So, for example, in June, there was the Southwest Business Summit going on, which was just such an amazing thing to see, this kind of world-class conference being conceived in the region, and just, in every possible way delivering. But I happened to be here at the same time. I was performing at it, but also here with my father, who hadn't been to New Brunswick in the 10 years that we've lived here. He and Felicity downstairs made very good friends, of course. Hi, Felicity. And my Uncle Louis, who had never been to Canada before, lives in North Carolina. He was here. So to my mind, it's always like, okay, so if I've got my uncle who's never been to Canada before here for 3 days, what do I show him to give him true Canada? And of course that means stay in St Andrews, feast at the Garden Cafe, feast at Algonquin, feast at the Chandler Room, and you will have the best possible experience. And so it's the warmth of the people. So I mean, yes, the world-class dining and the views, and obviously Water Street. It's just one of those majestic places to walk. But it's, as you guys know, it's the people that keep us here, and it's the people that make it so special.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering, you often feature St Andrews in Edit magazine. Why do a magazine at this time? It can be a challenging industry to be in, but you are so skilled at it, and you bring a lot of coverage to our region.
That's very kind. I mean, I don't know if we're skilled at it. I mean, I guess we had a lot of experience. We had many, many years doing it in London, but of course in such a different way, in that there was 80 people working on the magazines that we're working on now. There's just a handful of us. But for us, it was definitely born out of a desire that we wanted this thing to exist. We wanted a physical, tangible thing to exist, that when people say, what's it like in New Brunswick, or what's it like in Atlantic Canada, people go, here is an 80-page publication that shows you exactly what it looks like, with beautiful photography and hopefully scintillating writing and printed on beautiful paper. And to my mind, more than ever, print is important, and again, I mean, hats off to you guys at CHCO for everything you do for the community and media and journalism within this region, but also saving the local newspaper as well. I mean, it really is like, it could never be a more important time to do this. And the idea and the absurd, and especially given, there are so many restrictions, as we know, with social media, but the simple fact that people do want physical, tangible things, and the idea that everything now needs to be social media is something which has been created by the few that does not benefit the many. And the idea that, to my mind, what I want from the reason that we do it as a magazine is at the end of a long week, we want people to sit down with a glass of wine and sit in their hot tub or on their deck or on their cottage or on the waterfront and have a physical thing. They don't want to be looking at their phones and their computers after having done that. They want to be holding something. And I think when people will be surprised at how the younger generation are actually becoming more interested in physical, tangible things, right down to the fact that, the quantities in which Taylor Swift's albums are selling on vinyl, and those are teenagers doing that. And I think because of this somewhat reliance on social media, there's going to be a reverse trend, and I believe physical things are going to become the way in which we communicate again.
A physical, tangible thing that James has now is his Canadian passport. How does it change
I do have a physical, yes.
How does it change for you becoming Canadian? We think of you as a national treasure.
Well,
but now you are an official Canadian.
Well, I mean, it feels great, obviously, and it's such an honour, to be. It's nice to know that I can tour the country without fear of deportation. I can say what I like without worrying. It's nice to know that I can stay living in this beautiful province forever. And it's to my mind, I mean, and there's been talk recently of, there's a lot of, and I used to say what I loved so much about Canada was that, and I still do, but when I moved here, British politicians were trying to get votes by using anti-immigration rhetoric, and I came to Canada, and Canadian politicians were getting votes by welcoming immigrants at the border and welcoming refugees and hugging them as they arrived. Sadly, it appears, if I can believe what I read, that there's been somewhat of a shift, and that actually I read somewhere that there's more people being rejected for Canadian citizenship or Canadian residency than ever because of pressures from anti-immigration groups, which it seems a very odd thing. There is possibly, there isn't, but there is an argument in England, this tiny, tiny island that is so overpopulated. I can see where some people might come from this idea that it's full. But if you've driven around New Brunswick recently, I read this, if you've driven from the old road, from Moncton to Fredericton, it ain't full here. Let's just put it that way. So let's keep welcoming people, and welcoming people is not going to, I think Canada's a long way from being full, in my opinion. But I guess to my point, the reality is that all I've ever felt is welcome here, and Brittain is not a place that even when my wife moved there felt particularly welcoming for newcomers or for immigrants. And again, everything I've just been commenting on is all from what I've read. From my personal experience, I've only ever felt welcome wherever I am in this country. So that to me is what I love so much about this place.
Right, and you were talking in your show last night, you were waving your passport around, but also you said you were looking forward to the day where you're not looked at as, oh, there's that British comedian guy, but here's that New Brunswick guy. Yeah. So before we get into our questionnaire, I have 4 quick-fire questions for you. We're going to see how far along you're coming.
Okay. I hope I don't mess this up. If I get to, I don't know, come on CHCO and get deported from New Brunswick.
Well, the good news is we won't deport you, but you'll still have time to work on it.
Okay,
so,
perfect.
Yeah, okay.
That's nice. That's very New Brunswick.
Okay. So question 1, dulse, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Who makes the best donut?
Who makes the best donut? That is a very good point. There's a place in Moncton.
Oh.
Do you know the place I mean? And I should remember it, but it is opposite a hotel. And that is one of the best donuts. But I have to say, I'm okay, Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons makes the best donuts.
See, the right answer was Mrs. Dunster.
Mrs. Dunster's in court. How did I forget Mrs. Dunster? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Blair. I love Mrs. Dunster's. There was a lot to think about.
We'll also accept Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons is true, but Blair, I love you, and Rosalind, hats off, and Blair and Rosalind are 2 of the greatest New Brunswickers of all time. Which many people might not know this. They don't just make the best donuts. Thank you, Jonathan, for correcting me. See, I've only been here 10 years. I'm still learning. Many people might not know this, but Blair and Rosalind don't just make the best donuts and employ so many New Brunswickers, both New Brunswickers and newcomers. They're also massive patrons of the arts and are actually instrumental and hugely hugely behind the Writers' Federation of New Brunswick and the New Brunswick Book Awards. And without their sponsorship and support, those awards and the Writers' Federation of New Brunswick wouldn't exist. And Rosalind even goes so far as to every year at the New Brunswick Book Awards make mini chocolates of all of the book covers. And I can safely say that writing a book is an amazing feeling, but when you see a little chocolate with your book cover on it, best feeling in the world. Blair and Rosalind, love you. Okay. Thank you. Saved me.
Yeah. Okay, question 3. If you're being exiled to a deserted island, you can only take one beverage, and it's ginger ale. Which brand do you take?
Oh, I can tell you what I put in the ginger ale.
No.
Okay, what brand do I take? Sussex.
Yes!
Yes! After the last Sussex faux pas that I made, I wasn't going to get that one wrong.
That's the right answer. Okay, and now this last question is St. Andrew specific. Drew Haven, I know you've been there. What did it used to be?
That is an excellent question, and it's a double whammy because I should know. I don't know.
Zellers.
Yeah, Kmart, Wilco.
No, it used to be the Masonic Temple.
Did it really?
Yeah.
You know, I think Drew Haven's one of those businesses that has been able to rid the past. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and actually the building inside, now you mentioned it, of course it does look like a Masonic temple.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you guys. What is the car that they have outside, the beautiful vintage car that they have outside?
It's green. I'm not a car fan.
No, I'm not.
It's classic?
Well, some idiot wrote an essay on how much he loves St. Andrews, and just because, again, I don't know cars, so I see a fancy car, I'm like, well, it's a Rolls Royce, because that's all fancy cars are Rolls Royces. And I put this, and of course, as I was mentioning earlier, whenever I write an article about anything, no one ever comments on the good, it's always the bad. And so, anyway, I did this article about how there's a beautiful Rolls Royce outside. Of course, hundreds of comments on Facebook. It's not a Rolls Royce. So anyway, I still don't know what it is, but it's not a Rolls Royce. So to all those angry people, I apologise. I was just trying to say how much I love Drew Haven. That's all I was trying to say.
We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, James will be taking the Good Day from the Bay questionnaire. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Good Day from the Bay, where comedian James Mullinger is about to take our Good Day from the Bay questionnaire. Are you ready?
I'm ready, and
Okay.
I'll try and keep the answers short. As you can tell, I'm very long-winded, so I'm going to try and not be too long-winded. Last night, I was able to keep to a brief. I had a very strict 45-minute set, and Brad said I came in dead on 45. So I was very happy.
done.
Let's see if I can manage this.
Well,
We've got the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Go kick it off, Jonathan.
okay. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Excellent question. I'm not a very adventurous person. I would love to think that one day I will do something crazy. I'm scared of heights. I can't even climb a ladder. I'd like to think I could jump out of a plane. I did once follow a girl who I'd fallen in love with, who we were dating. She was traveling. She left Maidenhead, where I grew up, to travel, and I went to meet her in Bali. Kind of, I think, as a surprise. And I got there, ta-da! I probably did do that. And she said, we broke up. And it's weird when you realise how weird the human brain is. Years later, I did find a letter from her, which I had presumably read, that kind of was breaking up with me from... But for some reason, my brain didn't think I could cope with it, so it told me something else, so I turned up there. It sounds like stalkerish behaviour. Anyway, my point is this. That's quite adventurous / moronic to travel 24 hours for someone who you've broken up with. But we did then go we climbed a volcano and cooked eggs in the lava. Oh. So that's quite adventurous. Second most adventurous thing I would say is climbing the big rock at Cape Spencer for a documentary where Hemmings House convinced me to do this, and I'm scared of heights, but I thought, this is how much I love cameras. I thought, well, at least if I die, it's on film! Think how many views on the old TikTok big box that'll get, right? That was my thought. But really the most adventurous thing probably really was having 2 small children and a life and a career and packing it all up and moving to New Brunswick without a plan. That would be my #1 most adventurous thing. But
And
luckily it all worked out.
Shout out to your son Hunter, who is in our
He
studio
is
audience
indeed,
today.
indeed.
Good job, Hunter.
Shout out to Hunter, who is behind the cameras. Long-suffering Hunter, who has to listen to all Dad's nonsense all day, every day. Because you guys think I'm talking like this just because we're on TV. I'm talking like this the whole time I'm in the car with Hunter. So that he has little headphones in, I think.
And star of the Peninsula, we should shout out.
Star
Thanks for being here, Hunter.
And writer of the
check
Peninsula.
out-
And check out the Peninsula short film that Hunter wrote and starred in. That will be secretly, possibly premiering at a film fest. Oh, so we should do a screening here at the W.C. O'Neill Arena if anyone's watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would love to come and bring the cast and crew of the Peninsula to your beautiful region.
So did we do our good job embarrassing Hunter?
I think we did. Yeah, he's giving me the evils. So that's good.
Question 2. What is the strangest or most unexpected talent you have?
Again, I have 2. I'm a master toilet unblocker. I can unblock any toilet. I did a cleaning job many, many years ago, and I guess I mastered it then. But no matter how big the deposit, I can send it on its way. I'm a master toilet unblocker. And I can fix toilets, like even with that. Like I'm not a full-blown plumber, obviously, but I'm quite good at fixing toilets. And that's something. And I don't do many manly. Not that there's such a thing. But my wife is the person in the house that does everything. But the only thing I can do is fix toilets. I'm also a master at untangling jewelry. So like if you get a tiny. I can untangle that, and those are the only 2 skills in life I have. So if you are someone who deposits large loads and is quite careless with their jewellery, I'm your man! A poop untangler.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
If you could only eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Good question. I mean, probably. So cuisine meaning, could it be seafood? So I could say seafood, or I could specifically say lobster prepared by Chef Alex Hahn.
You could be very specific.
Yes. So I would say, well, there's 2 things. So obviously lobster, I love the Chef Alex Hahn is obviously my favourite chef, as you know, and I love the fact that obviously the lobster roll, lobster croissant, and equally with gluten-free bread as well is also delicious. But the fact that he can do anything with lobster and make it amazing and exceptional, that he would be a great person to have on like a desert island, because he can make anything from anything taste delicious. But also, I have another odd thing I'm obsessed with, and I love, I guess, what is called chicken salad, which is basically, when chicken is mixed with mayo, like chicken mix. In Costco, they have a chicken mix, this huge one, which if I get it, I eat the whole thing. So chicken mix or lobster, or anything prepared by Chef Alex Hahn.
Where is your happy place?
Wow, I think we can... Obviously, when living in London, and I first visited New Brunswick in the year 2000, right there and then, the province itself became my happy place. Obviously, now having moved here, St Andrews is without question, my happy place, in that I would say my happiest experiences with work are here, whether it's, magazine work, television work, and specifically live work. Like all of my happiest and favourite gigs, I think, of all time have been here, but also, as you know, and as you pointed out earlier, I mean, I vacation here. This is where I come with my family. It's where I come with my wife if the kids are away, and it's where I bring family and friends from the UK. So, without question, St Andrews is my happy place.
What's your favorite local spot to be alone?
Oh, nice. So I guess local to home would be there's a beach opposite. We live on the Rossay Road. And you can cross the road, there's a train track, and there's a beach down there, which oddly, no one ever goes to. And I don't understand why. I mean, occasionally people come down to get on their boats from there. But generally, so it's mind-boggling to me that you can live in a place where you can sit on this beach where it's like 2 miles long, completely empty, and just the most gorgeous, unspoiled view of Long Island, Kennebec Island, Kennebec Park. And it's just the most good, and I can sit there completely alone. I can get the all-over tan, and maybe if someone's got binoculars from a boat, they might get a look at something they don't want to see. But for the most part, and it's just the most amazing thing to go and be. Yeah, Phil, as they say, like water's the best thing for mental health. And so, anytime I'm ever feeling down or need to think, or indeed just want to go and celebrate with my wife, we can sit there on the beach and be alone. I love it.
Well, yeah, one of the most underrated things about New Brunswick is these places that would be busy anywhere else. You can be by yourself.
Totally, that's exactly it. And we always say it when we're down there. We always think that wow, there's people in big cities who work all year just so they can spend 1 week in a spot like this, granted maybe in a resort, being brought cocktails or whatever else, but basically they work all year to have this view for 1 week. And really, the great thing about being in New Brunswick is that, this is not an elitist thing. These are views that everyone has access to. And to me, it's the ultimate, inclusivity where, whatever someone does, whatever someone's walk of life is, wherever they live, they have access to these spots where they can go and sit in total, solitary and enjoy these gorgeous views. And that, to me, what makes this such a inclusive and welcoming place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now on the flip side, what's your favorite local place to celebrate with friends and family?
Excellent question. I guess probably places I've name checked possibly already, like Garden Cafe. Is somewhere that we always go to celebrate very special family occasions. As I say, anything that Chef Alex Hahn makes is special. And the other place would be the Chandler Room at Treadwell Inn, which again is just glorious. And again, it was the place that we went for our big family meal when we had everyone here. And they just make you feel welcome. And crucially, I mean, the cuisine is better than anything. It's funny, when you live in or live near or regularly dine in St. Andrews, your benchmark for great cuisine is so high that we went to New York just after Christmas and again had a list of all the best restaurants, and nothing we went to matched up to what you would get at Kingsbury or at the Chandler Room.
What is your favorite local festival or event?
It would have to be the St. Andrews Comedy Festival. And of course there are so many, and this is the one thing that we're blessed with in this province, is this, because we haven't always had things, and things aren't necessarily always handled, we have this incredible grassroots approach where local initiatives are born, where people will come up with ideas and concepts and things that people would think wouldn't work. I mean, right down to someone saying, I'm going to build an amphitheatre that can house thousands of people in a town with a population of less than that. And similarly to a comedy festival. And so for me, what I love about this comedy festival, having performed this festival twice, but also having performed obviously at the amphitheatre, it's interesting. I've actually played the amphitheatre now. I think this was my 6th or 7th time. Like we did, it was 2019. We did a huge one there, which at the time I believe was the biggest outdoor music comedy festival in Atlantic Canadian history. And then, of course, the grassroots nature of initiatives. So that was like this record-breaking, thousands of people event, and then 2020 happens, and it's COVID, and Mrs. Flamer has this great idea, the people of Charlotte County need entertainment. So I remember we all teamed up, and you guys live-streamed a show whereby basically I'd gone from performing for 2,000 people to 20 in the exact same room, venue on Canada Day. And it was Mrs. Flamer's family, distanced, bubbled, all spread out, and performing for 20. Jasper the cat joined me on stage. Was it Jasper the cat or the dog?
Oh, Jasper the dog.
Jasper the dog, that's right. Jasper the dog joined me on stage, a cat joined me on stage, and then CHCO so graciously live streamed it. And of course, this was my point at which I discovered the power of CHCO. And there is some statistic somewhere which you should all be aware of, whereby because of the high proportion of people that watch CHCO, it is arguably proportionately one of the most watched things anywhere in Canada, because statistically, like you might think that, I don't know, Tiger King, big show in 2020, well, only 40% of the population watched it, but 90% of Charlotte County watches this. And I'd never forget, like after a year when things opened up and I came back to St. Andrews, I have never, ever had an inkling in my life of what it might feel like to be a superstar. But on that first visit back after that live stream, I got a feeling of what it might be like to be Tom Cruise or Ryan Reynolds walking down the street, because every single person watched it. And it was just an amazing thing. And then in 2021, things had opened up, and Mrs. Flamer said we're allowed to do it with 200. So we did like 4 shows, all distanced, and then came back the following year when things opened up, following the big one, and then of course the comedy festival. So it's just amazing that year after year playing this gorgeous venue. So St. Andrews Comedy Festival, please keep supporting it, everyone, and Brad, please keep doing it.
Testament to what a great comedian you are, because to play to 20 people, I mean, the audience is such a big part of a show.
Right. Well, and it was fun, but I think also it was a real learning curve then, discovering how you can perform for the people at home and almost make it a feature of the fact that you're playing to people in their living rooms. But that was such an amazing experience.
What keeps you awake at night with worry?
Short answer, everything. Everything. I'm a panicker, I'm a worrier. I'm always worried about workload, how am I going to get things done, worried about the universe. If for any reason I have a good, and of course with ADHD, like my waking up and my brain is going in a million directions. And it's one thing, there's one, I'm generally someone that tries to be happy with the way things are and even take negative things positively. But if there's one thing I would change about myself, it would be, this little, like waking up at 3 a.m. and this little kind of voice like poking me in the head going, hey James, remember when you did that stupid thing? Remember when you ruined this? Remember when, I would like to quieten that little voice a bit, but then maybe that voice is the thing that keeps us humble and decent, and sometimes shame is a good thing, because the people with no shame end up running for president. So maybe it's a good thing. But so I'm a panic on one. So really everything. I mean, people always say, one of the kind things that people always say to me is, "Oh, you're so busy," but meanwhile, I'm constantly telling myself I'm not doing enough. So that's a worry that I always have. I'm not busy enough. That's my worry.
Okay. Who in your life do you look up to the most?
Excellent question. Well, you guys, obviously. That goes without saying. I guess obviously, like most people, I have comedy heroes. I mean, genuinely, like, I don't mean this in a twee way, but it would definitely be my wife, in terms of, I've always been in awe of her work ethic, in awe of her. I mean, people say that I juggle a lot, but the reality is, I mean, like I say, she's handling everything at home. She's handling, and she's also like essentially the CFO of the company as well. So she's juggling every single different detail of both businesses. Obviously, she's juggling all the kids' schedules, sports, all of those things. Plus, she has to be the handyman around the house. Without question. And I think it's one of those funny things when you meet someone. Like when we met, we were in our early 20s. And now, she's turning 50 this year, I'm turning 47 next year. Like, it's amazing when you realise that you've been together for more than half your lives. And it's a wonderful thing we can say, wow. And I don't think when we got together that we thought that we would be, we didn't know how long we were going to be together. We certainly didn't think that we'd be working together 24/7. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of am able to admire so much, is that she's able to put up with me not only as a husband and a father, but also as a colleague 24/7. And you have to find those parameters, because when you do work, and you know what it's like when you're working with your partner, it's not very nice when the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is say, "Did you send that invoice?"
Romantic.
But exactly. Exactly. So it would have to be my wife. Yeah.
Excellent.
And Mrs. Flamer. Mrs. Flamer, of course.
Of course. Yes.
Who is my other wife?
If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
It's a good question. I mean, I guess the obvious one would be, I guess the thing that I do, I always thought of stand-up comedy as a superpower as a child, and never thought in a million years I can do it, so it would ever be able to do such a thing. So to me, I love that. I don't know if I'll call it a power, but I love that thing of being able to make people laugh. So I guess it would be, I mean, at the click of a finger, or the wave of a wand, to be able to just make people happy would be the superpower I'd love. Like, I would love to, if I had to be Thanos, and I would like it to be inevitable that everyone just be happy. So that's the thing I would love to do, to be able to, when you talk to, and when I'm sure you guys must get it, more than I do, where in our jobs and our roles within the community, we're lucky to meet people when they're at their highest and happiest, but we're also meeting people often at their lowest ebb, and a cuddle can do a lot, and talking can do a lot, but it'd be nice if that cuddle could also somehow take away their woes and make them happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That's a good one. These are such good questions, by the way. I would say, one would be, I remember when I first started out doing comedy, and I asked Jimmy Carr for advice. Like, I think possibly naively thinking there was some kind of shortcut. And he just looked at me and he just said, gig, 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 and just walked away, gig, gig, as he walked away, gig, gig, as he walked away, just gig, gig. And it really is the only solution. It's funny, and comedians ask me, like, what, and it's just like, just get on stage as often as possible, write every day. I would say that was, starting out, that was the thing that made me realise, oh wow, there is no shortcut. The only way, it's practice. Like, you can't practice at home. It's not like other art forms where you can master painting or guitar in a bedroom. You have to do it in front of an audience to get up there and do it. And then when I was looking to move here and everyone was saying, Canadian comedians in London were telling me there'd be no industry here and you wouldn't be able to carry on. And then people here told me that, and it was the comedian Catherine Ryan said to me, she said, don't listen to any of it. She said, in Canada, she said, they're right. Like, if you want to go the traditional path, the big clubs, the big festivals, there's nothing there. But she said there's this underground independent scene of passionate people who in small towns can go out and put on shows and make money and find, if success to you is being able to, feed a family, to doing the job you love, then that's success. And she knew that was how my mindset worked, and that gave me the impetus when I got here to hit the ground running, just doing small gigs and going out there and playing rural communities. And it was so Catherine Ryan that gave me that advice. And then the third thing would be a counsellor that I had very recently who was helping with my ADHD called Dr. Meredith Henry, and I can't remember the exact words that she said, but she basically, when I was talking about my 3 a.m. wake up panics and panics and anxieties about things, and she said, the thing to remember every time you have one of these panics is everything that you will ever go through, you've already been through the same or worse, and you've already come out. She's obviously said it far better than this, but basically what she's saying was anything that you ever come up against, you've already been through and overcome something as bad or worse. So you're going to get through this one, and that I've found very helpful as well.
What accomplishment are you most proud of?
Well, I wouldn't want to take any. I guess there's nothing I could really take credit, because I was about to say my children, but again, I can't take credit. It's interesting, they've so become their own people that all of their amazingness is nothing to do with me. But I guess it would be making a living as a comedian. Like that was always my, and I might be like a nobody when it comes to, in the comedy world, but all I ever wanted to do was to get paid to make people laugh, and or indeed be able to support a household making people laugh. And so the fact that I can do that to me is the greatest accomplishment. Because as a child, I was scared to talk to other kids, let alone I was never involved in the school plays, or I wasn't like, no one would have imagined that I would be doing this. But then also because of the millions of people that say I want to be a comedian, probably 0.001% end up actually doing it. And so the fact that I found a way to make it work, and in a place less likely, thanks to the support of community and kind people and friends like you guys, that I would say is the proudest accomplishment.
Okay, what is your current guilty pleasure or obsession?
Good question. It's funny because I was thinking, like I don't think we should. I mean, unless one's guilty pleasure is something that they should literally be found guilty of, right? Which are guilty pleasure, murdering people. I don't know if we should feel guilty about it, right? Like, I mean, my wife just got me addicted to watching Emily in Paris. I don't know if I should feel, sure, it's not Tolstoy, but not everything should be Tolstoy. And I think about what things I should feel guilty about. Like, I mean, I used to, in my young years, I used to drink too much, and I used to smoke cigarettes. I should feel guilty about those pleasures. So I guess now that my number one guilty pleasure would probably have to be the one thing that I've been told that I have to cut back on by the doctors, and that is salted peanuts. Because when I went in from the recent MOT, and it was like, yep, you know, since the liver's good, the lungs good, but then the cholesterol was super high, and I was like, they were like, why is this, blah, 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 blah. And then like, well, how many peanuts do you eat? I'm like, well, a couple of tubs a day. They're like, no more peanuts for you. So peanuts, but I love them. So if anyone wants to give me, don't hide the peanuts from me. So they've replaced the heavy drinking and the smoking.
Nearing the end, what's your favorite smell?
That's a good one. I mean, the sea, the water, I think that's the thing that we will all find most calming. Lobster, I mean, cooked fresh lobster. My son has recently become something of a fragrance connoisseur. And I have to say, like most people I know are complaining about the smell of their teenagers, right? And suddenly now, my son's bedroom smells like a Parisian perfumier. It's just the most amazing smell. He's a master of obtaining the samples at Shoppers. Chats up the ladies at Shoppers and gets the samples. So I guess my favourite smell right now is my son's fragrance. My son.
We didn't embarrass him before.
No, exactly. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Last question. If you could invent a holiday, what would it celebrate, and how would you celebrate?
The holiday would be called the Flamer, and it would be a celebration of philanthropy, New Brunswick cuisine, and New Brunswick community spirit, and it would be like New Brunswick Day on steroids, right? So we take a day where everyone tries to be more Lucinda Flamer, and everyone has to go out and come up with ways to bring communities together, ways to raise funds for people that need it, and every single area of, and this could be a national holiday where everyone in the country has to go out and basically find ways to support their neighbours, come up with events and activities, ways of showcasing talents and supporting others.
Amazing.
I love that so much. And we love you so much, too.
I love you guys, you know that. And this is so nice. This is the funnest way to spend a Sunday morning. If you ever get a chance to come in on a Sunday morning to CHCO and hang out with Vicki and Jonathan, do it, because this is a dream.
This is James Mullinger at 8 a.m. on Friday. A man who doesn't think he's busy enough.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you here. This is so much fun.
Thank you so much.
And please come back anytime.
You know I will be.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will celebrate your milestones. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Good Day from the Bay. This is the part of the show where we celebrate our community's milestones. On this episode, we want to shout out the Indulge Food and Wine Festival, which recently wrapped its 17th year here in St. Andrews.
The annual festival not only showcases the best of local cuisine, it also raises money for the local food bank, the Open Door program, while invigorating the shoulder season with life and activity. Many hotels in the community sell out for the 4-day event, which brings visitors now from across Canada and beyond. A well-deserved shout-out needs to go to organizers Kingsbury Garden and Tressa Bevington, who have been making this event bigger, better, and more delicious every year.
Finally, we wanted to pay a special tribute to the Scouts, Cubs, and Beavers program, so we gave them a visit here in St. Andrews.
Hi, my name is Haley.
The Scouts, Cubs, and Beaver program in St. Andrews has been an important part of the community for over 100 years, making it one of the oldest Scout troops in Canada. These days, the program is open to both boys and girls and offers youth the chance to step away from their screens and immerse themselves in outdoor adventure.
Each school year, from September through to the summer, children from kindergarten to high school dive into a variety of activities, from hiking and canoeing to archery and campfire building. Behind the success of this program are dedicated leaders who share a passion for guiding young minds.
I started, like many people, being a scout leader because my stepdaughter was in scouts at the time. Well, actually, she was a beaver at the time, so we started it up, and it is just something I really enjoy. I worked at summer camps when I was younger. I was a caregiver in various kinds of situations, and I've kept doing scouts and beavers as a scouter long past my daughter's involvement because it's something that just I really enjoy.
For Matt, being a leader isn't just a weekly commitment, it's a joy. But just don't call him Matt when he's leading his troop. He goes by Rusty, a moniker chosen for him by the kids. In an era dominated by screens, Matt finds immense value in the program's screen-free environment.
Scouts is just that hour a week where there's just together time, there's no screens.
Instead, children engage in timeless activities like building crafts, telling stories, and exploring the outdoors. Ken Beaubien, a longtime leader in the program, echoes Matt's enthusiasm for scouting. He highlights the diverse range of activities available to the children, which are often chosen by the participants themselves.
We really look to the kids to decide what they want to be doing, so we really do anything from baking to archery to canoeing, and it's really the activities that are of interest to the different groups and the kids that are involved.
Both Ken and Matt acknowledge that the program is at a critical juncture. The COVID-19 pandemic took a toll on participation and the number of volunteers. Ken is eager to rebuild the Scout program, especially for the older participants aged 10 and up.
We're still recovering from COVID, where there wasn't as much participation and the online experience wasn't the same. So we're looking to really continue to renew the Scout level, which is, basically ages 10 and up, as well as bring on more Scouters. So parents who are interested in the community, any of the teenagers as well at high school, 14 and up, can also be volunteers with Scouts Canada, and we'd be more than happy to have them on board. I know as well there's a lot of international students in town as well, and they might have done scouting in other countries, and we'd love to have them come and participate as well.
Without enough volunteers, the program faces challenges in maintaining its high standard of mentorship and activities.
A good part of it is like some tangible skills, like how to use a hatchet safely and how to use a knife safely and how to start a campfire and some of the outdoor skills. But a lot of it is about learning to problem solve with other kids.
Ken and Matt are hoping the call for more Scout, Cub, and Beaver leaders will resonate through St. Andrews. Parents, former Scouts, and local mentors can step forward to help and enrich their own lives in the process.
And it's just something I enjoy. I'm much happier. You could ask my family, I'm much happier since I'm doing beavers because it fills a part of me.
Thanks to leaders like Matt and Ken, the Scouts, Cubs, and Beavers programs continues to thrive, ensuring that future generations will also have the opportunity to experience the timeless joy of scouting. If you're interested in joining them, email Ken at avenuekdesign@gmail.com.
If you have a special community milestone or celebration you'd like to see featured on our show, send them to goodday@chco.tv.
That's our show for today. See you next time on Good Day from the Bay.
Good Day from the Bay is produced through the facilities of CHCO Television with support from people in our region.